really wanted to cover. But beyond that, the reason why I really had to cover this was because of what's going on with the MeToo movement in connection with this. Because if you look at right now we've had some pushback, we've had some wins. We had the Amber Heard case, which was in Johnny Depp case, which was great. But if you look at this poll taken this year, you still have a large amount of people supporting the Me Too movement. A massive amount of people. So breaking it down by party and gender. So all those who have heard of Me Too, 21% oppose, 49% support, 30% neither oppose nor support. So the majority support. Although this is, you could say that if you neither support nor oppose, you should be counted over here, which would be 51%. But still a significant portion are strongly behind them. Men, 42%. 42% of men are simping for Me Too. 42%. 25% oppose it. 17% of women oppose it. So obviously there's a gender split. 54% of women that they interviewed did it. Now, of course, you don't know what the sample size was. They could have asked more Democrats and Republicans. If they're Republican, 41% oppose it to 22% support it. But look at that. Democrats, it's 70%. All the Dems get down for it. And then amongst Republicans, men and women, look at the split here. Men, it's almost 40, it's 49%, 15%, 34%, 28%. And I guarantee you, by the way, that this might even edge closer if you take some of these people over here that neither support nor oppose. And this is something I've talked about a lot of times. And look, I agree. Statistics are unreliable. That's very true. We can use them as a baseline. And what I want to point out here, and I've said this before, is a lot of people think their conservative waifu is based. But just understand that you are a hair away from those folks turning you in, reporting you, or moving against you for clout. And over here, look at this, 65% to 76. Support Me Too, even now. And remember when all of this really hit peak insanity. It's when, if we talk about Me Too, and I talked about this with Megan Fox, Me Too hit peak insanity during the Brett Kavanaugh hearing. You guys remember that? And if you don't remember that, let me give you a little bit of a refresher here. But let me get Hunch's super chat first. 87% of the 42% men that support have a positive case against themselves. I'd put money on that. Yep. Honestly, you're probably not wrong. The people that are supporting this probably do have a case against them or a possible case against them, and they're trying to get out of it. So if you guys don't remember the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, this is a little refresher for you guys on this specifically. If you guys don't remember this.
After a day-long hearing at the Senate Judiciary Committee, only a handful of senators remain undecided on how they'll vote on Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
He's right, she's wrong, she's right, he's wrong. I mean, you're never certain.
Republican Senator Jeff Flake says he's still processing the 8 hours of testimony by Kavanaugh and his accuser, Christine Blasey Ford.
He began running his hands over my body.
Ford, trembling.
So there we go. So that was the allegation, that he was getting handsy. He was drunk and he was handsy. And that was a huge moment in Me Too. It came with allegations years later of SA. Years later. Now, Brett Kavanaugh, that incident that was called back was decades later. But here we are in 2022, almost 2023. We are over a decade past the Casey Anthony trial. And recently, there was a gentleman by the name of Clint House, who was the roommate of Casey's former ex-boyfriend, or former boyfriend. I believe it was Tony Lazzaro. So this is probably for this guy, and I'll show him here. He's got the beta gaze going on. But for this guy right here, this Tony, meet Tony. For Tony here, this was the biggest event probably of his life, unfortunately. And Tia, late but not pregnant. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. You guys, you remember these guys. And these guys, Clint has made this his grift. He has been in multiple productions regarding this. As Danielle said, you're saying it, not me. He was behind this new production, this Peacock production. And I have, okay, let me put it this way. I may see if there's ways we could get clips from that, okay? We'll talk about that on Locals. Maybe after this, I'll do a Locals exclusive and we'll talk about that. But if you haven't seen the Peacock docu-series, which I understand, not everybody's seen that, there are new allegations in that docu-series. And to summarize what he brings up is that Casey Anthony in the docu-series, a decade later, when she's 36 years old, is making the allegation that her brother and her dad sexually assaulted her and Kaylee. That's the allegation that she makes in the docu-series. So that's the new allegation. And that's why you get this guy saying this. And let's hear what he has to say. What does he want to happen here?
At this point, what justice for Kaylee is going to look like is for the case to be reopened. For all of the sexual abuse allegations, that got told to me live in camera. And I didn't know anything about it. And once they started kind of laying out everything that I had to stop the interview. I had to get up and walk back to the director and sat down next to her, and I looked her dead in the face. And I said, I assume that you're the one that's been talking to Casey. And she said, yes, Clint, I have been. And I go, have you looked her in the eye, and do you believe her? She looked back at me, dead in the face, and says, yes, Clint, I believe her. I have been working with sexual abuse victims for most of my life. And she displays all of the signs of a sexual abuse victim.
Okay, so what Clint is saying here is he's saying that apparently there's some expert that was working on the documentary, expert, right? We're going to put that in quotations, that says that Casey is an SA victim. So that's what is being claimed here. And this guy whose sole grift has been Casey Anthony because he hasn't done anything else with his life is coming back to grift off this later. And we can decide whether this is an appropriate name for it. We can decide that because remember, Casey is 36 now. 36 is a very difficult age. I think we see a lot of people struggling with 36.
And that was when it just felt like a gut punch hit me. When somebody who has been working with people that have been sexually abused, saying to me that she shows all of the signs of someone who has been sexually abused, that was when everything just started kind of coming together for me. And some of the questions that I've had about the story began to get answered. And it was very hard to hear, because I am one of those people that I do not like pedophiles at all.
I don't think that, by the way, I don't think that's a controversial statement. I don't think anybody likes pedophiles other than a few people in California. Other than them, I think most people don't like pedophiles. Other than the few maps that belong on the wall, they are not. I don't know anywhere that pedophiles are welcomed.
And to hear that there may be a pedophile involved in this story is kind of hard to hear. And hearing that she displays all of the signs of a psychologist has said, she displays all of the signs of a sexual abuse survivor is very hard to hear. Because if any of these allegations are true, and if what she's saying about George Anthony is true, then you have to think about the fact that Casey was abused by her father, and then has the only human being in the world that actually loved her taken away from her, and then turned into the most hated person on the planet because of it.
Okay, that is highly debatable. Was she disliked? Yes. Most hated person on the planet? I mean, she's up there, but I don't know if she's number one necessarily. And let me say this too, until he relitigated this, I don't think people would have. I think people were willing to let it go and let her go on with her life. But now he's bringing this up and making new allegations and calling for the case to be reopened.
I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like. So that's why I'm saying that, if there are any truth to these allegations, then I think they need to be investigated.
Okay, so that's where we get the origin of this reopening coming from. And frankly, when you think about the timing, you think about what's alleged, you think about MeToo, you see it as an opportunity to grift and an opportunity to say, let's reopen a cold case, let's reopen something, and let's put charges in the light of MeToo against Casey's father, George. Yeah, that's that thing. So let me, and yes, this is the boyfriend's roommate. Yes, the boyfriend's roommate, former roommate. I don't think they still live together 10 years later. I would hope they don't. I would really hope they don't. So I want to put up a little poll. Obviously, you guys know I fucking love polls. I'm a poll guy. People on Rumble, people on Locals, you can just vote. Tell me what you guys think. But are these new allegations against George true? I just want to know if you guys think they're true. I mean, just a quick yes or no. Do you guys think they're legit? And thank you for the quick edits over here on Locals. You guys already got the memes up. This is why I love Locals. This literally took like 30 seconds for someone to whip up. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Steve C.